Just recap for 2 minutes. What did you do with Shamil last week? What was if you can pick 3 important things that he was trying to say, or 3 things that you learned, what is it, okay? Just 2 minutes on the table, go.
Okay, the first thing we are talking about is the languages that are most dominant in Africa. That we're not focusing on English. There's other languages that are important in Africa that are more spoken.
Such as
Hausa. Hausa is the most dominant in Africa than others. And the second thing is Africa had no boundaries before. It was just a one big world that anyone can go anywhere you want until the early 60s and so on. So there were no boundaries before. It was free trade, you can just go anywhere. That was the second thing. And the third thing is that in 1960, it was an important year because most African countries got their independence during that time.
that decade, in the 60s, right?
Yes, in the 60s. Yeah.
Cool, okay. So it seems like he spanned right from geography, language, independence, a whole lot of history, right?
Yes.
In one session. Now,
what I remember that we were talking about last week, it was the Berlin conference, whereby that conference was deciding about the borders, about the land,
Okay.
and we talk about the important things about the Africa. An example, the colonialism of Africa. Most of the countries that in Africa were colonized by the Portuguese, an example, by the British, by the French.
Right.
Yeah. And also we talk about the history of Africa. You see, history of Africa.
We spoke about the name of Africa.
Yeah.
okay, how the name came about.
Yeah. An example, this name I don't know how to pronounce it. Afriquai.
From which language?
Hey.
Arabic,
Last
okay.
one shop.
Okay, one last thing that we
From Zile, take
yeah,
over.
one last thing that I remember that I learned from last week, which stood out for me,
Easy,
was
yeah.
that the Pan-Africanism ideology did not originate. For example, when Black Consciousness movement was started, when Steve Biko was born, it was way back. It started up there in those countries that were up there. What is Cameroon, somewhere there.
Jamaica, outside Africa.
Jamaica.
Yeah,
outside Africa.
Pan-Africanism started
Okay, I
there.
understand. In the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can.
So people must not claim it.
Yeah, that's the important.
All right, I got you. Okay,
Yes.
a sense of Africanism, Pan-Africanism predates
Thank you.
Black consciousness. It's an ancient.
Yeah, you
All right,
can
great.
claim it.
Three. All right, Monday, come on.
Oh, no, I want to build the old mentions. So, we were looking at how Africa is been designed geographically, and then the timeline of the history events. It was the most important thing in order to understand the history. And the other one, it's mentioned, it's the languages that we have brought here. And the other one that I think was also important is the way of life before the colonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was
Another thing is the resources.
Okay, so it looks to me like, I wasn't here, right? But from your summary, right? It looks to me like Shamil was trying to give you an introduction to Africa that was before colonialism, right? There's a complex, beautiful place, right? And then he kind of gave you a rough timeline, and he talked a little bit about like this period which was pre-colonial, right? Languages. And then he talks a little bit about this bit when they started to draw borders in Africa, right? Berlin Conference started to line up, colonialism. And then he kind of like worked into this bit here, 1960s, which was independence, right? Okay. And then he talked a little bit about countries, languages, rivers, math, stuff like that. Is that a good summary of those three, right? What date did he say was this? So this was 1960s in Tutuzela. What date was he talking about this when they carved up? What date was the Berlin Conference?
18th century.
18?
Century.
18th century, 17,
Yeah,
18.
19th century.
It is 18. What was the date? Did anyone write it down?
1885.
1985. Yeah.
1885.
1885.
Yeah, 1884.
I don't know the date.
Yeah, 1885.
1885.
That's 19th century. Oh. And then, of course, this goes back to when?
18th century.
Yeah, like 0. Before, it could be infinity.
BC.
Okay. Great. Okay. So in actual fact, what Shamil did last week is he gave you a nice overview, and each week he's going to fill in a different period for you. He's going to talk a little bit more about this period here, pre-colonialism. They're going to then talk about this period here of colonialism, and he's going to talk a little bit about this period here after independence. Okay. So each week he's going to fill in a bit more.